Hello everyone, I am Prince Mishra. In this session, I will give you a brief analysis of this year's geography optional paper. This analysis will be highly helpful for those candidates who have written the mains with the geography optional, but it will also help out all the aspirants who are aspiring to write the mains examination in upcoming years with the geography optional. Because for any student, there are only two references which is being provided by the UPSC. One is your syllabus and the second one is your examination paper. So that is why it is very important for all the aspirants who are aspiring to give the UPSC mains with the geography optional to go with geography optional paper to get an idea that how the questions are being asked, whether more static questions are being asked, whether more dynamic questions are being asked, whether more applied questions are being asked, whether more contemporary, what is the role of contemporary issues, how to handle the questions, whether the questions are straightforward or the tricky. So all these things you will only get if you will go through with the analysis. So I am hopeful that after going through this session, most of your doubts, you will get a more clarity about what is the trend of the geography optional in the upcoming year. So let's begin. If you will go through with the paper, almost all of you must be having the paper. Those who are not, you can also you can access the this year's paper in the description box. So there you will find the paper. First we'll have a brief analysis of paper 1 and then we'll move to the paper 2. As far as paper 1 is concerned, most of you must be knowing the questions is being divided in two sections, section A and section B. This year also the paper 1, both the sections are being directly associated with the unit. So according to the syllabus, the questions are being asked. Now, if you will go through with simply the paper, what it appears by just having a glance of the paper, that geography optional happens to be easy this year. So most of the students whom I have communicated after the writing the test, when they have connected with me, most of the students were like that this year's paper was comparatively easy. Now the question is that whether really the paper was easy or it is just giving a feel good factor to the aspirant. As far as questions are concerned, because most of the questions were from known territory, so the questions have been asked from the area which students prepare. That is why it was appearing to the student that the questions happens to be easy. But I will say that this paper was moderate, not easy. Why moderate? Because most of the questions were not directly being asked. The theme of the questions appears to be known. So the theme of the questions appears to be from the known territory. It will give an impression, बच्चे को लगेगा कि ये सारा क्वेश्चन तो हमने किया हुआ है, तो ये सिलेबस का ही पार्ट है, तो डेफिनेटली आई कैन आंसर. बट why it was moderate? Because the questions were requiring some form of the interlinkages. The theme they have picked up, but around that theme we call it as core periphery. So the questions were not directly from the core, the questions were not directly from the periphery, rather questions were requiring some form of the interlinkages of core periphery. And in lot of questions, they were not only checking your interlinkage of core periphery, but also they were checking your knowledge of other chapters. In fact, in entire paper 1, if you will look out the approach that is needed, they have shifted the approach from the regional approach, which was dominating in last 2-3 years. So from the regional approach, still the regional approach will give you a good result. And in fact, you need to have regional approach to get a good marks, but along with the regional approach, they were also looking the environmental approach. And this environmental approach has nothing to do with the environmental determinism. this environmental approach which the examiner was looking out, and in most of the questions have been framed in that manner, was basically part of the postmodernism. So how the things have been changed after 1990s, in lot of questions it was clearly visible. The questions of simply pollution dome, the questions of simply the ecological changes, the questions where they are requiring how the geography as a discipline will help out in some of the problems of ecological degradation, problems of decongesting the city, problems of food security, problems of population explosion. So the approach is also needed along with that themes. So themes appears to be easy because themes appears to be known, so it will give an impression to the students that the questions are very easy. Questions were easy, but the actual demand of the questions was comparatively difficult because it cannot be directly answered by just merely having the idea of core, idea of periphery, or simple knowledge of the topic. One more thing, very important. This year, if you will go through with some of the questions, then you will find examiner is giving you an idea where examiner is forcing you to have some critical thinking. So examiner is asking the question from very known area, but the framing of the question in such a manner that you need to have that critical thinking. Conceptual clarity is not simply going to help you out in that. Like there was a question, very easy question, the question number 1B. Question number 1B says, what are the high altitude environmental hazards? So high altitude environmental hazards, almost all the students, even those who have not prepared completely, just they have started the geography optional preparation, they also will get some idea that what is this high altitudinal hazard. It is something related to the mountains. But now the question is that what are the different hazards that you need to highlight? Is simply landslide is the hazard that you will write, or something else? Most of the students have written the landslide and the avalanche. Landslide and avalanche is fine, but along with the landslide and avalanche, you also need to look out some phenomena like cloud burst, where most of the cloud burst is happening. You also need to look out some of the phenomena like glacial lake outburst flood, where the glacial lake outburst flood will happen, wherever you will have the glacial lakes. Some of the other part of mass wasting can also be highlighted, like rock fall, debris fall, liquefaction. So all these things can be written. So the point is that whenever any student will come across with high altitudinal hazard, so immediately you will narrow down, you will try to just contain your thought process. So this paper is also giving you a hint that you need not to know one particular area, one particular topic in very great detail. Rather, you need to know small things for the lot of area. The second point, this paper is also giving you a hint for the upcoming student कि आपकी जो preparation होनी चाहिए, that should not be only limited to the syllabus. Syllabus जब भी आप पढ़ते हैं तो syllabus के इर्द गिर्द आप देखिए कि क्या why I am studying this topic. Like nowhere you will find the high altitudinal hazards. It is not written in the syllabus as it is. One more very good example. Most of the students are aware that we have the landform theories. Most of the students know that we have the landform theories like Davis and Penck's very common theory. Now the Davis and Penck's theory is very much associated with the erosional landform. So erosion is dominating in both the idea of the Davis and Penck. But rather than asking the erosion of Davis and Penck or simply the landform development concept, the examiner is asking a question that is not that much tough. But you need to think that yes, how to incorporate the idea of Davis and Penck. If you will go through with the question number 3C, the question says, discuss the role of slope, altitude and relief in landscape development. So in landscape development, whenever you will write the landscape development, and if you will just write the generalized idea, and if you will not write some of the ideas of either it is a youthful stage of the Davis or it is a waxing phase of the particularly Peng, definitely the answers, the questions demand will not be fulfilled. So this is also very good pointers for all the aspiring students, that whenever you will read any topic, do not just stick to that topic, try to think that where else I can use this topic, I can use this knowledge. Also, try to treat the geography optional, as a tool to find out the problems, find out the solutions of the problems that the humanity is facing. So be it problem of climate change, be it problem of global warming, be it problems of deforestation, desertification, be it problems of congestion of the cities, be it problems of particularly drainage facility. So all these problems that the humanity is facing, world is facing, try to look out that do we have any topic in our syllabus through which we can have some sort of solution. And in fact, in paper 1, entire paper 1 is associated with that, One more very important point that you all need to understand, and year upon year, the UPSC is giving the hint in geography optional. Now it is up to you to treat it, to understand it carefully. If you will look out the topic called contemporary issues, so there is a chapter in paper 2, and that is your contemporary issues. Now the contemporary issues, they are not asking the question from the contemporary issues in paper 2 only, because it's part of paper 2. Even in paper 1 also they are asking the question directly. If you will go through with the question, what is the utility of some of the topics that are written in the syllabus? Because most of the time what happens, as a student prepares according to their understanding idea, and they will identify that these are the main topics of the syllabus and this is how we will prepare. But you need to look out the hidden areas of the syllabus. You need to look out those areas of the syllabus which is written, but do you have the content, 150 word, 160 word, 200 words content? Like there is a very important topic, if you will go through with the paper 2, and this year they have asked the question number 7C. So if you will look out the question number 7C, if you will go through with the question number 7C, you will find they are asking, explain in detail the impact of regional disparities on economic development. So regional disparities on economic development, if you will go through with the syllabus, you will find it is clearly given in paper 2, chapter number 10. Exactly. The topic is written as regional disparities in economic development. So some of the questions they are framing, the questions are not, simply they are just rephrasing the topics of the syllabus. So make sure that you should have 150 word, 200 words content for all topics of syllabus. All topics of syllabus. If you will have this, there won't be any issues. Like there is one more question. If you will look out, the question number 2A. So if you will look out the question number 2A, the 2A says sequential changes in land use and land cover have brought global and regional ecological changes and imbalances. Elucidate. Again, if you will go through with the chapter 5 of paper 1, you will find directly there is a topic called global and regional ecological changes and imbalances. So directly they have picked up the topic, nothing else. But again, answering such kind of questions will require some sort of practice. So if you have done this practice, if you have this 150, 200 words content, and also you have written the answer based on those topics, definitely you won't face any problem. So these are the 2-3 things that in generalized thing that you need to know. Focus on all the areas of the syllabus. Do not miss any topics. So focus, prepare all topics of syllabus equally. Prepare all topics of syllabus equally. Identify hidden or less popular area, less popular topics of syllabus. Why I am using the less popular topics of the syllabus? Because these syllabus you will not find in the conventional book. So might be these topics are very much contemporary in nature, so you will not find in the conventional book, the books that is being mainly referred by the aspirants. Try to have 150 to 200 words content. So 150 to 200 contents for all the topics. Then focus on contemporary issues. Contemporary issues need not to just focus on for paper 2. सभी स्टूडेंट पेपर 2 के लिए उनको भी they know it very well. सभी स्टूडेंट्स को those who come to me and converse with me, so they are very much clear कि हाँ पेपर 2 में सर बहुत सारे questions contemporary issues के आ रहे. That is fine, but you also need to very much clear that this is equally important for paper 1. So do not treat that contemporary issues will be limited to paper 1, paper 2. Paper 1 also requires contemporary issues. Then, as I said, that critical thinking is needed. Critical thinking around conventional topics. So this is very important. Now there is one more thing. As far as paper 1 part 2 is concerned, that is geographical thought. So in geographical thought, as far as our syllabus is concerned, so syllabus has been designed in such a manner that one portion, the first portion of our syllabus deals with historical evolution. So historical evolution of subject, how the geography as a discipline has evolved, what are the different techniques, tools that has been evolved in case of geography as a discipline. So the first part deals with it. The second part is mainly related with the human geographical human aspect, like the culture, like the religion, like the races. So culture, religion, races, languages, human development. So this is the second part of the syllabus. Now, from last 2-3 years, UPSC is giving more focus on this second part of the geographical thought. This year also you will find the 2 questions they have asked from those topics. So they are giving a hint that you do not just stick to this. Do not just stick to that historical evolution of the geographical thought where you are just learning all the techniques, all the tools, all the paradigms related to the geographical evolution. That is also very important aspect that you need to get. Now, as usual, the first question of the geography paper 1, the UPSC has maintained the trend. So the first question was a little bit tricky, little bit obscure, but this year the first question, a lot of students, they were knowing, they were having some idea about this first question. So this year the first question, of course for the newcomer, it appears to be a very new term, appears to be very obscure term which is not very much popular, but for a lot of students those who have studied well the karst topography, they were having the idea about the speleothem. So from that perspective, I can say that yes, it was like 50% students were knowing this topic, 50% was not knowing this topic. But again, I would say that this one question is not going to decide your overall geography optional. Yes, there can be a situation where 1 marks or 2 marks are very crucial in UPSC, but as far as geography optional is concerned, if someone is scoring 290, if someone is scoring 295, then we can say yes, there has been a difference of this question. But if someone is scoring 230 and someone is scoring 290, so it's a very much clear that this one question has not done that much dent, and because this first question is very much similar for all the students, so you need not to be panic. So if you are not able to answer this first question related to the landform, तो आपको परेशान होने की जरूरत नहीं है. Okay, all right, now we'll quickly look out a few things related to the questions. So कुछ questions का हम लोग इस session में करेंगे, that what was supposed to be written, how you were supposed to handle, and the remaining things will be done in the next session. All right, so let's start with the first question. First question is a compulsory question, so this question needs to be answered by all the aspirants, and in this there are 5 sub question and all the question carries 10 marks, and you are supposed to answer in 150 words. So all the questions needs to be answered in the particularly short note form. In case of short note form, the one thing that you all need to understand, as far as this introduction, body, conclusion is concerned, structuring needs to be adhered, but here the body part is very important. So if you are writing some of the content, and let's say you have written 100 words content, and after that you have written 25-30 words introduction, so in that situation you can avoid the conclusion, or if you are directly starting the main body parts, main content of the question, so you can skip the introduction. So in a way, in case of short note questions, definitely you need to focus on the structuring, but the introduction and conclusion part can be avoided if there is some compromise of the content of body. So the body content need not to be compromised. जो क्वेश्चन में पूछा गया है, जितनी क्वेश्चन की डिमांड है वो आपको लिखनी ही पड़ेगी. तो कहीं अगर आपको ऐसे लग रहा है कि ये बॉडी कंटेंट ज़्यादा लिखने की वजह से I am having less space for conclusion introduction, so you can avoid. दूसरी चीज़ है कि never ever try to write more than 150 words, क्योंकि अगर आप एक दो क्वेश्चन में 150 वर्ड से ज़्यादा लिखोगे तो ऑब्वियसली आपके बाकी जो क्वेश्चंस हैं वहाँ पे there will be a issue of time management. So time management का issue रहेगा. So always try to write the only limited content that is needed, that is being required. Question number 1, define speleothem. Discuss the various forms and features of speleothem. Now as far as the first part is concerned, that is speleothem, so this simply asking define, so that will be your introduction. As far as speleothem is concerned, this is related to the karst topography. So in karst area, we have the limestone caves. So limestone caves are very much popular in USA, like you will have very popular, very famous Kentucky. Then you will have the United Kingdom, Australia, we have the caves are being formed. And in this particularly caves, limestone caves, karst caves, we have both erosional landforms and depositional landform. Erosional landforms are simply referred as speleogens, and depositional landforms are referred as speleothem. Depositional landform generally being categorized in 3 categories. So we have speleothems, also we have some of the materials that is being weathered. So when the weathering is happening and then in situ deposition happens, that is also the depositional landform, and then some of the materials are being mechanically transported to the cave. So when mechanically transported to the caves and deposited, that is also depositional. As far as this speleothem is concerned, this speleothem is simply the depositional material, and this depositional material is primarily the calcite in nature. So it is mainly made up of calcite, it is mainly comprised of calcite, also organomite. Almost 95% of the speleothem is comprised of this, and this is mainly deposited, this is carbonate deposits, and this carbonate deposit is either through the degassing of CO2, or it is associated with the evaporation. So through the evaporation, through the degassing of carbon dioxide, the calcite deposits, this speleothem develops. Speleothems is having different forms. So some of the speleothem develops from the sealing. So it is referred as dripstone. So it is referred as dripstone, and some of the speleothem develops from the floor. So it is referred as flowstone. Dripstone, flowstone, one is developing from the above because of the dripping of the water, and one is developing with the growth of from below, and once they will join, they join by the column. This dripstone is simply also referred as more popularly stalactites, and flowstone is more popularly referred as stalagmites. So stalagmites. So this is how you can write the different forms, this is how you can write the meaning of the speleothem. But again, as I said that during the examination, if you are not knowing the speleothem, so it's quite obvious that it will be difficult for you to handle this question. So need not to worry. So those students who are not able to write this question, they need to have very much clarity that if you are not able to write one question, that is not going to hamper much of your geography optional performance, because all the other questions were very much doable. All the questions were very much doable. Now moving to the next question, that is 1B. 1B says, what are the high altitudinal environmental hazard? Explain with suitable example. Now, as I said in the starting itself, that it's appears to be very easy questions, but you need to handle it very carefully to get good marks. So the question is being asked in two different sections, so the answer needs to be also given in two different subsections. The first subsection is requiring you to highlight what are the hazards. So what are the high altitude hazards? So in first part you need to write that. So you need to write about the landslide, you need to write about the avalanche, you need to write about the cloud burst, you need to write about the glacial lake outburst floods, you need to write about the rock fall, you need to write about the liquefaction. All these things you need to highlight. Need not to elaborate. There is no need to elaborate much, because if you will go for elaboration of all these, definitely you will write more. You need to also keep in mind that the word limits need to be maintained. The second part is saying explain with suitable example. So here explanation is very much required. So you can write about, let's say, Siachen Glacier incident, you can write about the Chamoli disaster, you can write about the very famous Kedarnath disaster, you can write about the Idukki disaster. Obviously it is not possible for you to write all these. तो सभी नहीं लिखना है, सभी आपके लिए पॉसिबल नहीं होगा लिख पाना, और सभी इतने सारे हैजार्ड्स को एक साथ लिखने की जरूरत नहीं, बट ट्राई टू एटलीस्ट राइट some of the incident that has happened recently and on which you can have some case studies. So the importance of case study is also being useful in this. As I used to say in my test also, जब भी आपसे बात होती है in different platform, I have suggested so many times that there is a great utility of the case studies. So case study का जो है बहुत useful है. In my test, I have asked the question of landslide also, avalanches का भी question करवाया था, cloud burst भी करवाया था, glacial lake outburst भी करवाया होगा. So all these things, all the questions I have already asked. But as I said, कि question आपने किए हैं, content आपने किए हैं, but also you need to relate that what are the different areas that I need to highlight. Moving to the next question, that is your 1C, that is third question. What is pollution dome? So again, question from the climatology. This question of what are the high altitudinal hazards, primarily they have asked from the backdrop of environment. So पहला question 1A from the geomorphology, 1B from the environmental geography chapter 5, and this question pollution dome from the climatology. Now in the climatology they are asking the question from climatology, but they are asking the very कंटेम्प्रेरी बेस्ड क्वेश्चन, जहां पे आप बहुत बार ये मटेरियल, दिस टाइप ऑफ टर्म यू विल कम अक्रॉस, लाइक इन आवर दिल्ली इटसेल्फ, you must have heard so many times about the urban heat island. So the urban heat island, very popularly we have the Chicago heat island, we have the New York heat island. So all the heat islands you must have come across. So very related to that, they are asking the question, that is, what is pollution dome? So in first part of your answer, you need to write about the pollution dome, how this pollution dome is creating, and this is associated with the urban heat island. So this pollution dome is primarily associated with the urban areas. So in urban areas you will have a kind of pollution island. So we have a, throughout the world you must have come across with the Shanghai pollution island. So how the Shanghai city has been filled up with the so many pollutants, and one very important component in all the urban areas happens to be the vehicular emission. So vehicular emission happens to be very important aspect. So you need to write about what is pollution dome. Historically also you can write, some of the contemporary examples you can give out. Earlier we were having the London smog, we were having the Chicago smog, so all those things you can write. You can bring the discussion of the smog also, how the smog is developing, what is the photovoltaic smog. So different aspect you can write, and then discuss its formation. So formation associated with the vehicular emission, pollution, some geographical role that this phenomena is more prominent in case of winter season and also in night time, because in winter season there is a temperature decline. In night time, again in night time there is a less speed of the wind. In most of the city area you will find the night time temperature, there is a diurnal variation of the temperature, and night time temperature is comparatively more, and the night time temperature comparatively more is the resultant, is the consequence of this particularly pollution dome. Again in this question also it has not been asked, but if you will write the examples, so through the examples there will be a more and more weightage in your answer. So you have to mandatorily write the examples of Delhi, examples of Shanghai, so you can write and you should write. Now moving to the next question, that is fourth questions of this question number 1. When corals are affected by stress, it causes them to turn completely white. So the first part is a statement form. As far as coral reef is concerned, so this topic is from the coral reef of oceanography. So oceanography ka question hai. As far as corals are concerned, corals is a marine organism which lives in a symbiotic relationship with the algae. Actual color of the coral is white. So the coralite's color is white, but the beautiful and vibrant color that corals get, they get from the algae. So they were having symbiotic relationship and they have the beautiful and vibrant color. But due to any effect in the algae or in their symbiotic relationship, the corallites will turn out to be a original color, and that is your white. That phenomena is referred as coral bleaching. So ultimately the first statement is giving you information about the coral bleaching. Now it is asking, explain the reason of such an occurrence. So the question you can reframe, you can read it like, explain the phenomena of coral bleaching. So simply you have to write, and the coral bleaching is very much popular topic. So most of the student will have a content. Coral bleaching is being caused due to the increase in temperature. So sea surface temperature is increasing, rising sea surface temperature is one very important cause. Then you will have the marine pollution is there, eutrophication is there, then you will have oil spill is there. So coral bleaching can be, causes can be categorized in man-made causes, anthropogenic causes, now when you will write, because in the question it is not being asked, it is asking explain the reasons of such an occurrence. So it is simply asking, but until unless you will write some examples. So you need to write where you have witnessed this phenomena. So you can give the examples of either Indonesian coral bleaching, you can give the examples of our Lakshadweep coral bleaching, you can give the examples of particularly Great Barrier Reef coral bleaching. So whenever you will write the causes, do not just write generalized causes, write some of the cases of coral bleaching. Also, few words, few pointers needs to be written that what we are doing. So we are trying to revive this coral bleaching. So there has been different technique, and in that technique we are trying to like minimizing the pollution of the corals, then cleaning the pollutants, and managing the particularly the tourism in that coral area. So all these things we are doing, and some of the pointers can be written. Last question of this question number 1 is, well developed soils typically exhibit distinct layers in their soil profile. Elaborate. So this is from the biogeography chapter. So the question is from the biogeography chapter, and again it's a static question. So this is purely static question, which is from the topic of your syllabus, that is your soil profile. So simply asking, well developed soil typically exhibit distinct layers in their soil profile. Elaborate. So simply you need to write about the different soil horizons. So O horizons you need to write. You need to write A horizon, B horizon, C horizon, D oblique R horizon. So simply you have to write about the different horizons, the different characteristic, where you will have elevation is happening, where you will have elevation is happening, how the mineral enrichment is happening. So all these things needs to be written. Even question is not directly asking, but you have to write about the importance of well developed soil profile. So in the end you need to write about the importance of well developed soil profile, because the primarily, let's say soil is developed but O horizon is not there, this is the humus. So if the humus is not there, soil will not be fertile. So fertility in the soil comes from that. And soil is considered as a resource. Why soil is considered as a resource? Mainly because of this, it's a fertility. Soil is capable of sustaining the crop. So that aspect needs to be written, that Fertility of the soil is basically associated with the well developed soil profile. So, this is how you can handle this question. So, this question I have taken the question number 1. The remaining question I will discuss, I will elaborate in the next session. So, that is it from my side. We will continue this discussion in the next session. Thank you.